Hi there folks, Nominator here, and we've got the new Path of Exile Affliction League just around the corner. We are just about 2 days away, and I just wanted to shoot a quick video, share my league start plans, share what my league starter is, and give you an overview of the campaign run that I've done. I didn't run through the whole campaign, just got to pretty much the end of Act 5. I was gonna do Kitava, but I stopped at Innocence because I was really satisfied with the build. I was tanky, survivable. I did have a lot less life than what I would usually have at this point, but since I was doing a soft core run, I was not too bothered, and the field actually felt really good to play. I died I think once to what's the name of that Act 4 boss, the one that you do just before no, sorry, I meant Act 4, the one that you just do before going into the harvest. The one that inflicts corrupting blood debuffs and has the crazy laser. So yeah, I didn't play it too great. It was a combination both of me not having played totems in quite a while, so my mechanical knowledge of the build was just not there. I had just switched over to totems from my leveling setup, so I was still accustoming to the rotation and the playstyle, so I didn't really play it well. But after I got through that, it was pretty much smooth sailing. Once you get accustomed to your rotation, the damage was really nice. And to be honest, I'm gonna share with you both my initial setup, the setup that I used to level through the first 2.5 acts until I switch to totems eventually. I'll share the totem setup that I have, and basically what you do up to a 4 link. Then I'll share the way that I progress to the skill tree. So let's start with the skills first of all. So you pretty much get your leveling setup in Act 1, and then if you happen to have, because usually obviously in Act 1 you can't get a 3 link, so you'd be restricted just to your skills to be restricted to having 2 more supports. If you do happen to have to find a 4 link at some point, you can get a couple more support gems in Act 2, but I was running the entire run until just like the last level. I managed to get a 4 link. So my RNG was pretty bad in terms of that, but yeah, the damage was pretty respectable on a 3 link, and given that level of life, I only had the one that, and I was pretty happy. Once you get accustomed to the build, it was just smooth sailing, and that's why I didn't even want to continue with the campaign, because I had pretty much my setup for the rest of the campaign in terms of skills done. So and also the skill tree, the way that you'd progress is pretty it's pretty straightforward. There's not too many choices to do past the point that I am at the moment. So I thought that there was no point to finish the run, and I would rather save my energy for for Friday when the league actually drops, because I plan, if everything goes well, if hopefully the GG servers behave well on launch day, I plan to be streaming for at least the first couple of days. I'll try to cram in as many hours as possible, so I wanted to, just to have a few chilled out evenings before we get into the meat and potatoes of the new league. So yeah. So what you do at the start, you start as a Templar, and the idea of the build is that we will be playing Hierophant, Divine Ire totems. Potentially we may mix in some Stormburst totems, and there was a few different POBs that I was looking. I did share them with my previous video, so if you want to get both of the POBs, yeah, just go to my previous videos and you can find them. But in terms of skills, you'd start off with rolling magma, and that would add 2 more skills to your arsenal, and you'd just be using all 3 of them simultaneously. So ideally, you'd want to have 3 links. So you have rolling magma together with elemental prolif and combustion. Then your next skill would be Holy Flame Totem, which I would support with Summon Phantasm support. The Summon Phantasm support is pretty cool because basically the enemies that when you are killing enemies with Holy Flame Totem, they summon those phantasms, which both do some damage. I don't know how much damage they actually do, but they do tank a lot for you, so they do, detract some enemy attention from yourself, and they do some body blocking. So they are pretty useful in terms of utility. And then out also added fire damage. And the third skill that you'll be using is Flame Wall, and we'll support that with efficacy. And I'm not sure whether we should use Unbound Ailment or Combustion. I did my run with Combustion, and it felt pretty good, but Unbound Ailments could be another option. And obviously, if we do get a 4th link at some point before transitioning to totems, which could happen, we're going to transition to totems pretty early. About as soon as we get our first lab and that note on the tree, we are good to transition. I actually transitioned a little bit earlier, and I did the normal lab with totems, but I only had the 1 totem, and it felt pretty bad. You can see a vote of that because I was streaming my run the other day, and yeah, that wasn't super comfortable run. It took a long time to deal with Zaro, but as long as you're safe and you play reasonably well, you could get through it. But in my when I actually do the first playthrough of the league, yeah, I definitely would stick to the setup that I just explained to you because it's super comfy. The idea is that you place your totem depending how many enemies there is. I mean, I wouldn't use all 3 of the skills all the time unless it's a boss or like a tough area. Usually you can just keep running and maybe place a totem or place a firewall, or maybe throw a couple of rolling magmas and things should die. But yeah, very easy and comfy leveling. You'd have obviously movement skills, so you'd start off first with the one that you get first. I think it was I can't remember if it was, yeah, you start off with either dash or frostblink. I prefer frostblink because it just feels better to use for me. Also it is instant as well, I believe, so you can do things while you are frostblinking without cancelling the action that you're using, and you can obviously transition after that to where is Flame Dash. I think you get Flame Dash. Now you could potentially, if you're struggling with mana, you can use Clarity, or if you're doing hardcore, you can maybe add on Vitality. But I didn't use any auras at all. What you do also in Act 1 is you get Leap Slam, because at first you would start with, depends on what you find, obviously. It could be either wands or scepters. If you want to use Leap Slam, you need scepters, so eventually you want to transition to scepters. But Leap Slam is not good before you get faster attacks, which you get in Act 2, so until then you'd be using Flame Dash. And then once you transition, as I said, the point when I would transition is once you get to Ancestral Bond, which gives you an extra totem when you do your first lap, and then you'd grab the Pursuit of Fate, which gives you another totem. So ideally you want to start off with 3 totems. I did the normal lab on a 3 link with 1 totem, and it was pretty crappy, but I did manage to get through it. Looking back, as I did say, I should have stuck with the other setup until I transitioned. But once you transition, what you're gonna do is obviously you get rid of or your active previous damaging skills, and you get Divine Ire linked with Spell Totem and Physical to Lightning. So what it does is, because Divine Ire naturally converts 50% of the physical damage to lightning, then you get the other 50 converted, and then you also get 16% of physical damage as extra lightning damage. So what essentially that does is it converts all of your physical damage to lightning, and then the initial physical value, it gets 60% of it and adds it as extra lightning damage. So you will be getting all of your damage as lightning damage. And what you do on the tree is we scale elemental damage. So if you manage to convert all of the physical into elemental, then the elemental damage nodes give us more utility. Plus we get some percent physical extra lightning damage, which further gets scaled with the increased elemental damage. In terms of, well, yeah, let me just finish the setup quickly, and then we'll go through the tree. So at the end of Act 4 you get multiple totems, so I'll probably use that as a 4th link, because it gives you support skills have +2 to maximum number of summon totems, so that gives you another 2 totems, which at this point, because you only had 3, that brings you up to 5 totems. So that's like almost 50 well, not 50, but let's say, let's actually do the math. Let me do the math. So give me 2 seconds, let me just calculate this. So 3 divided by 2, so that's that's like time and a half the damage. So almost, actually almost, no, it can't be 50%, because 50% would have been if we had six totems. But yeah, anyway, it may not be 50%, but it's a pretty significant number. Before you get to that point, if you manage to get a 4 link, some options are Lightning Pen. You could also do 25 more elemental damage, with the downside supported skills cannot inflict elemental ailments. But I think at that point in the campaign, the more elemental damage is probably quite valuable. That gives you 23. So probably that's a little bit more value. Because if you're, that's like 23% more damage, I wonder. I've not really done the math of it, so I couldn't tell you, but and this one gives you 30% more spell damage, and you've got less critical strike, which potentially I think could be the play, because at this point you're not scaling crit anyway, so the more spell damage would be good as well. I didn't have a 4 link. Actually, I did have a 4 link, but I couldn't color it properly. I found this at like level 24 or so I had it for quite a while, but I could not for the life of me roll 1 red and 3 blues, so I would just restrict it to 2 blues and 1 red, and I only managed to use the 4th link once I got red colored gem. And the other thing that you'd be using is you'd also have one setup with Divine Ire together with Infused Channeling. And what that does is, so when you support a self-cast skill with Infused Channeling, obviously it has to be a channeling skill, because Infused Channeling has got a channeling tag. And if you see here, it's got the quality gain infusion after channeling a supported skill for 1.3 seconds. Infusion lasts 6 seconds after you finish channeling. Infusion grants 10% more damage of types matching supported skills gem stacks. So what that means is that when we get that buff, any other skills which match the tags of Divine Ire, and obviously our Divine Ire setup supported with the totem is Divine Ire, so that gets the more damage buff. Also, our challenge supported skill take 8% less damage from hits of types matching the skill's gem tag. So, but that's why only while you're channeling that. Okay, that doesn't really matter because we only channel every now and then to get the... Yeah, so I think we do it just for the infusion. As you see, we are not supporting with anything else. Then we've got determination. I like to get purity of elements, especially if I were to do a hardcore run. I'll definitely take it, but it just makes gearing so much easier during the campaign. You are immune to elemental ailments, which that has also get really good value, but I think the value of that becomes more apparent once you get we get to maps during the campaign. What you use it is just for the easy, like 23 per, however much, because obviously the value increases with levels. I think it's just a really good patch for resists. So you have to tinker with your gear less, which means that you can run through the campaign quicker as well, as long as you're covered with sockets. Because the thing that you care about during the campaign the most is sockets, which probably will be the most important, because if you want to get the right amount of sockets, you want to have at least 3 or 4 ideally, with the right colors, so that you can use your damaging skills up to their full potential. And then the second thing would be resists and life as well, but resists are pretty good. So what having those extra 23% to all, which becomes higher value later on as you level the gem, that allows you to get some higher life items without worrying about making up resists on that particular item. Because sometimes you may get a really good value of life item, but that item wouldn't have pardon me, much resists other than the life, so it wouldn't be as useful if it left you short, so you probably wouldn't be able to use it. But when you're using the aura, obviously the resist requirements are much less, so just makes it easier, gearing easier to the campaign. And we've also got mana to use a Defiance banner. Now we will have potentially some more reservation efficiency picking up from the tree. For sure we will pick up 1 mastery. Potentially we could have some more from the ascendancy, one of the ascendancy notes, which we are not planning to take. Neither of the builds, the POBs that I intend to be using, has gone that route, because if you see in Hierophant, there is a note here which gives you 25% increased mana reservation efficiency, but neither of the POBs use it. One of them uses goes Pursuit of Fate, the Ritual of Awakening, then Conviction of Power, and Arcane Blessing. And the other one, the one that we'll probably transition into, which is the mana stacking variant, so it drops Conviction of Power and goes for Divine Guidance, which gives us more mana, extra MOM, and then Transfiguration of Mind. Because we do want to get another aura. Obviously we want to get Wrath. We want to get Wrath later on, but I don't know, depending on, because there is a few other ways that you can get increased mana reservation efficiency, but if we don't get enough, we could, there is a few ways we can, because I'm considering a few other reservation things which potentially I would like to add on. So I don't know how we are gonna achieve it, there is a few ways. We can either do basically there is a tech that turns your aura into I forget the name of the skill. Basically, you link your auras to a support skill, which turns it into a duration skill, which you click every now and then it costs a mana, but it doesn't reserve it. But yeah, a few different ways. I've not figured out the aura just yet, but the backbone would be determination, defense banner. Purity of elements will drop later on potentially once we figured out how to get elemental immunity, or at least some, at least like at the very minimum freeze immunity. We'll definitely need that. But the other two, burn and shock, would be nice as well. We would potentially want to add on Herald of Purity because it gives us more physical damage, and Divine Ire. All of that it converts at least 50% of the damage to lightning. The initial damage is physical, so we benefit from that buff. As I said, we want to get Wrath added on. So this would be the main two. So this one is 25% mana, Wrath is a 50%, yeah. And this one is Purity of Elements. So if we drop Purity of Elements, we can just straight up get Wrath, just as a permanent aura. And then we have to figure out how we can get on another 25%, how we can get this added on. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So this pretty much. Oh yeah, I've got also. We will be using conductivity, Stormblast Mine. What else? And Sigil of Power. So the way that you'd be playing is you'll be moving about with Leap Slam, which once you link it up with faster attacks is pretty. It's not super fast, but it is a reasonably fast way to get around. And what your rotation would be for like normal monsters, you'd just drop your 5 Divine Ire totems. And by the way, when you're using multiple totems, it's once you cast once, it gives you 2 totems. So you need 3 casts to get 5 totems up, which is pretty comfy. Before that, obviously, you still need to do 3 casts to get 3 totems up. And if you do have a boss or a particularly bad rare, what you can do is, the other part of the rotation is, you would self-cast your Divine Ire until you get the infusion buff. So for the next 6 minutes, 6 seconds, you'd get infusion. Also, we're gonna drop our Sigil of Power, which what it does, it's place a sigil on the ground, which grants a buff to you in an area around it for a duration. The sigil gains stages as you spend mana in its area, making the buff more powerful. You can only have 1 Sigil of Power. Okay, so what it does is enemies in the area deal 12% less damage while at maximum stages. Buff grants 2 to 42 added lightning damage per stage. Duration is 12 seconds, maximum 4 stages. Gains a stage when you spend a total of 110 mana while in area. So this obviously is quite synergistic with, especially once we go mana, the mana route will add on MOM. We'll get loads of mana, and obviously we'll be able to support our skills with more mana intensive supports, so that they cost more mana. But yeah, it gives us more damage, plus it makes monsters in the area deal less damage. And then the third thing we'll do is, and that's pretty much only for like bosses and with something that really where we need to get a lot of burst damage. Now, we are not doing any damage, any significant damage, I would say, with the mines, but if you see, there is a line which says each mine applies 3% increased damage taken to enemies near it, up to a maximum of 150%. So when we go to a boss, what we can do to a boss fight, what we can do is we can pre-stack mines. Actually, okay, I think the right way to do the rotation, because I was struggling with it a little bit. I was trying out different sequences, but I think the ones that you maximize your damage the most is you'd drop the Sigil of Power, so that any spent mana after this will add on to its stages. You're gonna lay up the mines, and again, depends how quickly the boss fight starts. If it's something like Kizaru, where you've got a lot of time, you can easily do Sigil of Power, do all the mines. I think you can go up to 20, but obviously you don't have much mine throwing speed at this point, so I think I usually got like 10 mines in a sequence, which is still 30% increased damage. Not much, but still something at this point of the game. And then you do the Divine Ire self-cast so you can get the buff, and then you lay down your totems, and then the boss gets pretty much deleted. And especially if you manage later on to throw another mine sequence that adds on again more damage, which is pretty cool. And yeah, that's pretty much the way that you'll be playing the build until the end of the campaign. And probably for there will be a few things that you can add on. Obviously you can add on a shield charge setup, you can add on decoy totem, you can add on guard skill setup, but that's the skeleton of the build, and I was really happy with the way it progresses. The only time that it starts slowing down is, obviously I did the mistake of switching too early, which you can avoid, but I only felt that just before you get to that point, which is quite a significant damage boost, you started to slow down a little bit. But once you get this bit, so 10% increase elemental, 12% increase elemental, 20% increase effect of non-damaging ailment. This one, yeah, this applies to obviously shock, which we would be doing to a certain degree. 50% increase elemental damage, 8% lightning damage, 8% increase physical, gain 5% of physical as extra lightning, damage penetrates 5 lightning resistance. So that sets you up damage wise pretty much. But the way that you obviously start is you'd start from the damage and mana nodes, go through the elemental damage here, go to retribution for damage, attack and cast speed, strength and intelligence. You don't get anything obviously from the minion stuff. Then what I did is I went that way for discipline and training. I got Light of Divinity, which obviously I later is a respect for mana reduced, increased mana and reduced mana cost of skills. So I swapped those 2 points for those 2 at some point when I was a little bit struggling with mana, and I didn't want to get clarity or anything like that to help me out. So I thought it would be easier just to swap those. And we also get the increased elemental resistance and more increased elemental damage. Then you go up all the way to elemental overload. This agility you take whenever you switch. We have added on faster attacks, and at some point while you're leveling faster attacks, because it is a dex-based gem, you'd run out of dex. I'm also using dex amulet So when you add on the jades, and this should be covered for decks at least for some time. And then what you do is you go get the life. At this point, you are pretty much, once you get the life and the reservation stuff, you're pretty much just in around about the end of Act 3. So at this point, um, before I got, because you don't want to take Ancestral Bond before you're ready to switch, because it adds on maximum number of totems, but it also makes you so that you can't do damage yourself. So you want to take this exactly when you are switching, but before you want to switch, you want in addition to Ancestral Bond and the Ascendancy, you want to get those Totem Life, Totem Self additional physical damage reduction, increased totem damage, increased totem placement speed, which is quite cool, 50% life element. So yeah, pretty versatile totem node. So I think it's a good base to have those before you switch to totems, and then I just go get the damage nodes, and after this I was gonna go to the arcane capacitator, and this is basically it gives you more mana, arcane surge, which at this point you don't have access to arcane surge, but that should be your I believe that should be you get this from Arcane Blessing. Arcane Surge grants 20% more spell damage to you. Gain Arcane Surge when you or your totems hit an enemy with a spell. Arcane Surge grants 10% increased cast speed and 30% mana regeneration. So I think that should be your third ascendancy point, because I think the second one probably go for Ritual of Awakening. But what what made me go for Arcane Capacitator before getting access to Arcane Search is that one of the Mana Masters is 12% increased mana reservation efficiency of skills, which is quite nice to get. Now, if for some reason I find out that reservation efficiency is not needed, I can always respect that and take it again when I get Arcane Blessing, so potentially just before going into maps. But I like to have access to, more auras during the campaign. I like to play about with different setups, which potentially may not, I might strip them down once I get to maps. But it's good to have some extra choice of stuff that you can't get through your gear yet, because you're at such an early point of your progression that you're relying quite a lot of on the skills rather than the itemization. And after this, what we're gonna do is we'll go this way. There's cast speed and damage here. Obviously some resistances, lightning damage, life here. There's a few different ways, and again, those will be in the POB. I'll actually show you the POBs real quick just now. So the initial one is so that's the one that we're gonna initially use. So we've completed that part. So what I will want to do now, obviously we've gone that way so we can respec this later on. But what I want to do is I'll go this way, take the life, takes damage and cast speed, because cast speed is pretty good for summoning the totems. Then go down this way, get some more life and mana regen. Then come down here, there is damage here. There is increased skill effect duration, which is quite important. both for the duration of the totems, our buffs, debuffs, etc. Anything that we may cast, which we have a few of those. Then we continue for mana regen, life regen. We go Iron Will, which gives us the strength damage bonus applies to spells as well. Then we get more life, and then we'll go for Mage Bane, some more life, reflexes, so we can start, getting our suppression. But yeah, the suppression we don't need before we actually can start gearing suppression. So I think that's pretty, we can leave that for last, and we've got obviously more duration stuff here. Now this enduring bonds cluster, we actually, the rest of the cluster is minion damage and increased minion duration, which we don't benefit at all. But enduring bond, there is, the first line says 20% increased skill effect duration. So if we think that we need more skill effect duration, we can add it on, but I'll probably leave that until last, just because you only get, for 3 points, you only get 20% skill effect duration. So I just don't think it's really worth it. Although that if you are using Herald of Purity, obviously that spawns totem, that spawns minions, so you may be getting some utility of it, but I don't know how much it is worth. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Once we transition to Tatianto's version of it, which is slightly different, and it incorporates a cluster setup and MOM, and then he basically goes on mana as an additional layer of defense, and I think he gets some damage out of it as well. Not directly, but through some other mechanics. But it's pretty much very similar. What we do is we just drop some points here. We drop that bit. What else? So he's adding the cluster here, and he's got a medium totem damage, which has got Sleepless Sentries and Snaring Spirits. Now, Sleepless Sentries gives you more duration for the totems. You have Onslaught if you have summoned the totem recently, which is pretty cool for speeding up gameplay. And, pardon me, Snaring Spirits gives you increased totem damage, plus totems hinder enemies near them when summoned, which is good utility as well. And then his small, he's got a maximum mana small, which Stubborn Student, which gives you more increased armor, increased mana, and armor per 10 on reserve maximum mana, which I don't know how much armor we'll be getting from that, because I mean, how much on reserve mana do we have? Well, actually quite a lot. 62%. What auras does he have? So, okay. So he's got Vitality, he's got Determination. So just Rot, Determination, and Vitality, which obviously we can play with. We can decide whether we want Vitality or if you want a banner. But yeah, I didn't realize he's got so much unreserved mana. That's quite a lot, actually. So yeah, he's getting obviously the mana reservation here. He probably is getting it on his skills as well. Oh no, sorry, I meant items, because I can't see any other reservation efficiency. Let me see reservation. efficiency. So he's got that. Yeah, he doesn't have anything else. Pardon me, but yeah, it's not taking that. He's not taking the duration. He's getting some more mana, again, more mana, MOM, more mana and energy shield. And his items, it must be the Eldritch or whatever implicits that he's getting reservation. Determination, okay, so oh no, that's or effect. That is interesting. Huh. I mean, he's not even getting any more reservation efficiency anywhere. I don't know, maybe I'm just being stupid and I'm not saying something, but well, POB shouldn't be lying, so let's say that he does have unreserved mana 62%. I mean, is he getting what is he getting on the ascendancy? No, he's not getting that. He's not getting that mana reservation efficiency. Okay. Well, that's pretty much the two POBs. I'll post them in the video description so that you don't have to go to the previous one, although I did post them in the previous one as well, but I'll repost them for you guys. The only other thing that I wanted to touch would be just a quick word about just general Atlas passive setup that I would like to use. And right, let's have a quick look. So the first thing, which I think is pretty useful to do every league, generally GGG would post before a couple of days before the league, as same. They've got the same posting routine, should we say? So they post the new items, the new gems or whatever, and they always post the information that people that create item filters need, so that they can update their filters to the current version of the game. And what we find in that is the map tiers with the new maps that are going to be included in the Atlas. And what I find useful is to have a look at what the first 5 tiers of maps, what maps are in there. And obviously the more you play the game, the more you know which maps are good, but the important thing that you should consider is what divination cards you can find. And the reason that I include tiers from 1 to 5 is that up to the end of white maps, which is tier level 5, you can easily progress with just, leveling up your skill gems and getting more power from the tree. You don't really need any gearing, so most builds should be able to easily progress at least to the end of white maps. And if we manage to get a divination card which gives us a 6-link, whether it would be armor or whatever 6-link your build can accommodate, that is pretty cool. And although that it may take you some time, what we want to do is we want to farm the specific map that drops these cards. And to do that, there is a way that you can do it, which I'll talk you through. So in that case, if you see here, we've got Overgrown Shrine. Now, if we go to Overgrown Shrine, we can see that's PoE Wiki, which is your one stop for any PoE related information about pretty much anything. So when we go to items found in this area, and you got this type of page for every map, so you can see what maps drop what divination cards. We find Emperor of Purity, which gives us a 6-link Holy Chain Mail at item level 70. So if you can get a 6-link, just any 6-link, that's obviously still going to be your end game 6-link, but that's just something to get you started, to give you a bit more damage, and then you can craft it with, essences or whatever. You just need, the value of this is just the 6-link. The actual item properties are secondary. And we've also got, so that said, you can see it requires 7 cards, which is not too bad. It's not, because quite a few of them have got over 10 or over 15 cards required, which is a bit tedious to farm, but that's reasonable. And obviously, we'll see what it may take you quite a while. It may be quite rare. I've never farmed a set of it, but I'm intending to do it this season, just so I can set myself up with a 6-link and get an extra bit of damage that will set me up for progressing to the rest of the Atlas. Now, we also have got this card, the Dark Mage, which requires 6 copies to be a full set, and it gives you a 6-link staff. Now, we most probably would not be using a staff in our build, but if luck is on our side and we do manage to get a full set of it by the time that we get our Emperor of Purity, that is potentially cool for a secondary build that we may decide at some point to play that may use a staff. Now, what you will do is, in terms of farming, let me see if I can. Okay, right. So, because we don't know which maps will be connecting to which maps, what we want to do when we're completing the Atlas, the map dropping mechanic that you should be aware if each tier of map, let's say you're running level 1 map, the maximum level of map that you can get from any monster in that map is +2 levels of the current level of the map. So if you're in tier 1, you can get up to level 3. Now, each map could be connected potentially to one or multiple other maps, either of the same tier level or of a different tier level. Now, when you're running a map of a certain level, the more maps you have completed of the next level, the more maps each map of the previous level can drop. And I know it sounds a little bit confusing, but let's say you're running Plateau. It is connected to dunes. So when you're running Plateau, you always have got a chance to get a dunes map or whatever the other ones it is connected to, even if you have not completed them. And by completing Path of Exile means, by completion, it means that you have killed the boss of the map, given it's, so for white maps, it's the map needs to be magic, for rare it needs to be rare, etc. But if you complete a map of tier 2 that's not connected to the tier 1 map that you're running, if you haven't completed it, there is no way that you can get that other map. But if you have completed it, you can still get it if you're running a map of the previous level. And because usually the connections are just between two adjacent levels, so level 1 and level 2 would be connected, but you in no way have a connection between a level 1 and a level 3. So the important thing to get away is that if, like in this case, we have got, let's go to the map. So let's say the only map in level at tier 3 you complete is Overgrown Shrine. Then when you're running any tier 1 map, the only tier 3 map, which is the maximum that you can get from tier 1, will be Overgrown Shrine. Now, when it comes to tier 2, the only maps that you will want to complete is any maps that are connected to Overgrown Shrine. So my strategy until I get a 6th link, which hopefully should be the first day of, or the first 2 days, depending how much I manage to actually play. Fingers crossed servers would be good this time, because last time we had ultimatum, they were not, but let's hope it will not be the same this time. So yeah, strategy is we'll complete all our tier 1 maps. From tier 2 we are going to complete only maps that are connected to Overgrown Shrine. And tier 4, again, we would complete only maps that are connected to Overgrown Shrine. And then tier 5, we would complete all the maps. So basically, if you see tier 2, 3, and 4 is a sandwich, we complete only Overgrown Shrine in here. And in tiers 2 and 4, we complete just maps connected to Overgrown Shrine. So the idea behind that is that whenever a tier 3 map can drop, it should be Overgrown Shrine. Or whenever you're running a tier 2 or a tier 4 map, again, only Overgrown Shrine can drop. Or if you're running tier 5 or tier 1, the maps in tier 2 and tier 4 that can drop would be again connected to Overgrown Shrine. So that creates this self-feeding cycle of running batches of the map that you want. Then when you run out of them, you run other maps from tiers 1 to 5 to get more Overgrown Shrines, and you complete that until you get the item that you're farming. In our case, the Emperor of Purity. So once we've got our 6th link, the other thing that we want to do before progressing to, well, there is a couple of things that we want to do before progressing to red tier maps. And I'm gonna show you our Atlas skill tree, and it may be a little bit different because I will not be including essences from the start. I'll explain the reasoning for that tree that I've got and until when to use it. So basically, I believe that to get this, you pretty much will get that amount of points by the time that you complete all your white and yellow maps. And yeah, white and yellows with that build, I'm confident that you can pretty much do it without gearing any other than gearing which you get from running maps really and from doing betrayal. You get gear good enough to just do comfortably your yellow tier maps. Now at this point I'm gonna switch. Maybe I'll respec some points. I've not decided which ones yet, and I'll spec into essence, and I'll get my bases first of all at tier level 10, map tier 10, because I think in tier 10s you should have got, ideally for your gear you want to get at least level 70, item level 74. If even better if And I think that's the maximum that you can get in tier 10s. You start at 68, so 68 plus 10, no, 68 plus 9, so that's a 77. So yeah, you can get up to tier level, I think. So the map will be 77, so that means you can get up to level 79, items, which should be good enough for your initial crafting. And then once you get your bases, you spec into Essence, you start running low level maps until you get, like reasonable first crafted set of gear that will allow you to break into red tier maps and then just continue the progression. But what I'll do first is I'm gonna rush the betrayal chance so we can start accumulating missions from June. We'll go that way, getting some, chance for mobsters to drop maps, and we'll go get this betrayal stuff as well, which basically what it does is it gets us more chance for when you get a betrayal encounter, you get chance of more members being caught, so that gives you, more chance of people dropping items for you to unveil, which is what the idea behind this is. We want to get as many unveils, which one, some of them may actually turn out to be a good piece of gear that you can use, and two, you want to build up your unveil base, because especially if you're in SSF, there is no one that can give you access to crafts. You need to get any crafts that you'd like for your build. You need to unveil them yourself. And the crafts that are pretty useful and I'll be going for would be, so the signature crafts, the Gravicious body armor craft that gives you physical damage as fire and physical damage taken as lightning is pretty good. Same with Corel, he gives us like physical as fire as a helmet. Suffix, I believe, and then Rin potentially can give you freeze immunity on boots. And there's also unveiled modifiers that are not tied to a specific member of intervention, and there's heaps and heaps of them. There's quite a few good. So what I would do is I would keep that spec'd until I get pretty much all the stuff that I want, like minimum endurance charges, whatever is good for your build basically. And then if you want, you can spec out of it. The other stuff that I'm gonna want to get after this is you get obviously the maps related stuff for sustain, so you get this, you go that way, and I'll probably go and get Kirok mission chance plus gain one additional Kirok mission each day, because at the beginning of your progression, Kirok is a pretty good tool for getting more maps. First of all, by having shop that resets from the missions, and obviously the missions give you potentially maps that you haven't done before. Then we get some more map related stuff. We can get a chance to get smugglers caches in each map, because although I don't plan to be running any contracts early on, it is good to stockpile them, because at some point if you run out of like bubblegum currents, it's a good way to start, getting your currency levels higher, and there is a lot of other resources that you can get to high, so for 3 points I think that's pretty reasonable. And the mechanics that I want to spec into first would be boxes, which give you more experience because they spawn more monsters. Give you the operative strong box, it give you more scarabs, which is quite nice to start stockpiling from early on, so it can when you start at the later parts of the game when you potentially want to choose your maps, you've got, you know, the supplies, the starting supplies to do that. We've also got strong boxes in your maps are corrupted, which potentially also may give us a 6 link. But the idea would be that we want to get more XP, we want to get to higher levels, and you know, as early as possible. We want to get to level 90 so we can get, you know, get our builds operational in terms of, you know, your basic setup. That's why the other mechanics that they want to choose to spec into is shrines. You just get more monsters, and oh yeah, the boxes is you've got this tree which gives you more chance to get divination and currency boxes. You could potentially go for this one for map strong box, but I don't think that's required. At least I've never required it um, for progression. So if you're not really trying to progress really quickly, I think you should be fine without it. And that probably would be the initial atlas until I complete the atlas. Obviously, this after you've got these points, you've still got your red maps to complete. So I'm not sure what I'll be. I mean, okay, I probably will be going for expedition and potentially harvest. Uh, don't know yet. May go into harbinger. We'll see. We'll see how the build feels. To see what it is good at, what mechanics it's good at. I may potentially start at that point blocking certain stuff that I don't want, but I've not decided. That's pretty much your initial very early progression tree, which will set you up for breaking into red maps, and beyond. After that, it's entirely up to you. I'm not really sure what mechanics I would go into. I probably will want to do some bossing, but I'll need to see first of all what the build is good at, and then I can make the call. Because there is no point to spec into mechanics which your build is not good into, got good for first of all, and then mechanics that you don't enjoy. But let's see what that's, because totems I've not really taken to end game, and I'm not really sure exactly what mechanics that they will excel at, so I need to figure that out first. But yeah, that's the Atlas tree, the general idea, and obviously you can play about with it. I'll post that in the video as well if you want to have a look at it later. I've shown you which syndicate and veils are good, and these ones are generally good for pretty much, because they are so defensive, they're generally good for every build. But yeah, as SSF, I think having the syndicate spec'd into early on is really good, because that will give you your initial items that will allow you to get to, like, you know, before red maps up to the end of yellow maps, and then once you're at that point, you can start spec'ing into essence and just start running tier 1 maps, and just because the essences, the amount of essences and their tier doesn't change depending on the tier of maps you're doing, so it makes sense just run them at the maximum level so you can, oh pardon me, so you can get to the most amount of maps and get the most amount of essences for the least amount of time. But yeah, I'll leave the video here. I think I've covered pretty much everything. I don't think I'll be posting anything tomorrow or Friday, but I will be streaming on Twitch TV /Numinator_TV. I'll try to do quite a lot of hours, you know, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I'll catch you there if you are interested to see how the BO is progressing, or just to chat about Path of Exile or anything related. Ask me questions about your builds if you're having a problem with your league start. I'm quite happy to answer your questions, and we'll be listening to some cool music and hopefully have a good time. Take it easy, and thanks for stopping, guys. If you do drop me, if you want to drop me a subscription, obviously that would be much appreciated. If not, I hope you enjoyed the video. Take it easy. Bye bye.